Hello and welcome. I'm Ada Pembroke. I'm the founder of the Narrative Astrology Lab, and I'm here with Piper Sellon, who is a human designer and a member of the lab. She is an amazing coach and advisor, and she's really great at helping people to connect with their purpose. I've had some amazing conversations about human design and astrology with Piper, and I am so excited to introduce you to her today. So we're going to be talking about what it's really like to live with a Leo ascendant, which is a little bit controversial because I feel like in the astrology community, there's this stereotype that, we don't really need to talk about what it's like to live with Leo anything, because Leo anything is telling you what it's like to live with a Leo anything all the time. But having a Leo ascendant is a little bit different, especially when you have planets in other signs or especially adjacent signs like Piper does. And so I'm hoping that in this conversation, we can shine a light, so to speak, on some underrepresented and maybe even underappreciated sides of the Leo archetype. So, thank you so much for coming on to the show today, Piper.
Thank you so much for having me, Linda.
You're so welcome. It is really my pleasure. So, we were talking about this earlier and you told this great story and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with our people. Um so tell me about your experience of finding out that you had a Leo ascendant.
So growing up, I knew that I was a Cancer sun, like most people know their sun sign, and I never really connected with it, and therefore, found astrology kind of like, it's probably generalizations and generalities that could kind of apply to anybody. And then in my 20s, because I like to learn and collect all of the information I can on random things that spark my curiosity with my Mercury and Gemini, I looked more into it and I found out about my rising sign or ascendant being in Leo. And that, I mean, it made a lot of sense to me because I remembered being a child and being very playful and wanting to tell stories and performing and, being asked a question and being very unabashedly performative in front of, a group of adults and so forth. And while that was part of me that I had like repressed a lot for a long time, it felt like a part of my personality that I had like been pushing away, but was really true. And that was how I found it. And also realized that astrology was probably something that made a lot of sense. And here we are.
We were talking earlier about how you had an easier time relating to the idea of being a Leo ascendant than a Cancer sun, which I thought was really interesting. Often it's the other way around. Like people get really attached to their sun sign, and if they go deeper into astrology, it's because um they're like, yes, I understand my sun, and so other things are probably going to resonate more too. So I thought it was really interesting that it was the other way around, and it really speaks to how Geminish you are, that you, even though you didn't really resonate with that Cancer sun, you still kept on diving in to see what more there was to learn from astrology.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have my son in the 12th house, so probably was very well hidden for me how much of a Cancer I was. So yeah, very very much. Sometimes I'm like, I wonder if how Leo I am, but even in sidereal astrology, I would still be a Gemini. I wouldn't be a Leo. So like,
I can
well,
really
I still
see.
love my Leo ascendant.
So what do you love about your Leo ascendant?
So I feel like my Leo ascendant helps me to be um I feel like it helps me to be very able to like see where other people are shining and see what they're good at and be willing to call them out. I don't I know that sometimes people will say like, "Oh, Leos love to show off. They want to be in the spotlight. They want to be the center of attention." And like, while certainly as a child I felt like that, and if I'm in the right setting with the right people, I definitely can step into that performative, star of the show kind of role. Um, I tend to actually really enjoy seeing other people shine and helping. And to me, it's kind of like the sun bouncing off of other planets and showing it like the moon, right? Like the moon only shines because the sun does. But the sun isn't like, well, I don't want the moon to shine. I'm going to try to block it out completely. It's happy to let the moon shine, and it's happy to give our planet life. And so to me, like a lot of those sun qualities are, they feel very true to me as a person. Um, and so I really love that. I love that I definitely, I embody sort of the monarch side of the Leo, where it's the monarch as the protector of their people, kind of energy. So, the person who is willing to potentially go into battle and die at the head of their army if they have to keep their kingdom safe, who gathers the resources so that people have what they need. Um, Sort of the motif of the self-sacrificial leader is something that has always really resonated with me as like how I should try to be as a person. And so yeah, I feel like it's Leo is a very joyful, passionate, assertive energy, but at least for me, it's an assertive energy for my people, whoever they may be, whether they're friends or family or my community.
That is so beautiful. It's really interesting to me that the monarch side of Leo resonates for you so much, but it's so antithetical to the stereotypes around the monarch side of Leo. Like, I feel like when people talk about Leo as the king or queen, they're imagining this like glittery tinfoil crown and like this gaudy pillow that says it's so good to be the queen on it, and it's like etched in gold and like this pink velvet, and like the picture that you're painting of the monarch side of Leo is so much more of the like you compared it to Richard the Lionheart when we were talking about this earlier, or like the whole good King Wenceslas, the whole um it's so funny we're talking about this because I have an article about this coming out later in the week. But the whole good king and how like being a good king or queen or monarch is not about being the person with the shiniest things who's standing on the highest stage and getting all of the attention for themselves. It's so much about service and about providing and protecting and being that pillar of the community. And like I hear as you're talking about it this sense of responsibility and pressure, which, you know, as someone who has five placements in Saturn ruled signs, like it's kind of like, of course, that's the side of Leo that's going to come out for you. Um, but I wonder about, the other archetypes of Leo. Like, it is it a, you know, the monarch is Leo relationship for you, or do you feel like you have a childlike side or even a clownish side sometimes?
Um, Let me pause. So I would not say that I connect as much to the clown, unless I'm very overtired or I've been drinking, in which case I am very much the clown. But I definitely connect to the child archetype when I feel safe. Um, so obviously when I was a child, I definitely embodied that archetype. I know like I have a nephew who's a Leo son, and he has always been like the very serious, like little Leo, like very, very like stalwart and steady and like, just like very serious though, very serious Leo. And I probably do that in my day to day, but the story that I shared with you earlier was that like when I would be home alone in high school, and this is even before I knew I had a Leo ascendant, but if I was home alone, no one else was there, like I would go and get a bed sheet and tie it around my neck and walk around the house and pretend to myself that I was like the hero of my story. And I would imagine whatever stories that were in my head at the time. And I had a great time just performing for myself. And then as soon as anyone else came home, I'd be like, just kidding, busy doing normal high school things. So I definitely, and as I have gotten more and more in touch again with my Leo, I've definitely more consciously embraced it, when it feels comfortable and safe to do so. Um, and like the accusation of being childish definitely doesn't bother me as much as it would have, 10 years ago. I'm like, yeah, but like I'm childish appropriately. I'm not childish at work when I need to be in my adult mode. But I am childish right now because I feel safe and I feel happy and I'm going to express it and I'm going to let my Leo child energy out and enjoy it.
I feel like that's one of the things people tend to misunderstand about Leo. They don't know how much work it is to stop taking things so seriously and have that play. And like, Stephen Forrest says that when you see a Taurus eating an ice cream cone just blissfully, leave them alone because they had to work really hard to get there. I feel like for a lot of people with Leo placements, it's similar with being childlike. Like if you see a
Mm.
Leo actually playing with like a volleyball on the beach and being silly about it, like leave them alone. That was a lot of self-work that they had to do to get there. Which brings me around to the question of misunderstandings. Like I personally think that Leo is one of the most misunderstood signs. And after the conversation that we had about this earlier, like I feel even more strongly about this because you pointed out so many things that just weren't even on my radar before. So, um what are some of the misunderstandings that people have about Leo risings or assumptions that they have about us, frankly, that are totally wrong?
So I do think we get projected on a lot. I think fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, we end up mirroring a lot of stuff back to people. So in general, I think I find it very funny. I'll have people be like, "Oh, you're so whatever," um, either positively or negatively, and I will not know where they've seen that in me because I don't recognize it at all. As opposed to like being seen in a really beautiful, healthy way, which is like one of your gifts, Ada, is being able to see people and really like see them and see their shine in a really beautiful way, and like see their highest potential and that kind of stuff. Like, right. But a lot of people, I think, almost use Leos as a way of exorcising their own projections of themselves that they don't want to deal with. And so, just like a metaphor, another Leo rising used, which was the performance element or the theater acting kind of element of a Leo that can be there for sure. Um, people project themselves onto the Leo. So, oh, well, if the Leo's doing this, it's because this. And it's really, they don't even recognize it's their own thing. They just see it. But I feel like the accusation that is most commonly leveled at Leos, or at least for in my experience for me and for people I know, is the accusation of arrogance or pride. And I'll see that in a lot of pop astrology, sun sign astrology in particular. Oh, Leos, they're always like taking selfies and looking at themselves in the mirror. And like where they, they're the utter, basically they're portrayed as the utter narcissist, a person who just can't look at anyone else because they're so obsessed with their good hair. And while I do think a lot of Leos do have like fun hair and more of a leonine hair thing as part of their like medical astrology, as part of their rising, um, I just don't feel like that's actually as true. I was telling Ada, I think, at least in my case, I know that a lot of times I've been accused of arrogance or pride when I was actually reserved because I was uncertain of the role I was meant to play in that setting or who I should talk to next or whatever. So, in order to avoid bothering people, I was trying to be reserved as a way of being respectful. And instead, it was perceived as that I was self absorbed. And I think that that's true of a lot of Leos in general and Leo risings in particular.
I think that for a lot of Leos, especially ones who really resonate with the monarch archetype like you do, this awareness of what role you're playing in any given situation is so important. Like, there's this stereotype that Leos are all theatrical and life is a stage, and there are definitely some Leos who do get into their performer role and are quite good at it. But I think that for a lot of it comes out as this awareness of the fact that, this world is a stage and we're all playing a role in it, and this awareness that, contrary to popular belief, we're not the center of the universe. I think that a lot of Leo risings in particular would really much rather be part of a constellation. Something I learned recently is that the discovery of the planet or dwarf planet Sedna was only possible because we were starting to be able to entertain the idea that um, the sun was not always the singleton that it was now, and that early in its development, it belonged to this nursery of stars. And I think it casts Leo in a significantly different light to understand that, the sun is the ruler of Leo, and in the sun's childhood, it was part of this nursery. It was part of this ensemble cast. And when I talk to Leo risings, there tends to be a little bit of a tear, this sense of loss of the group, of the tribe. And I feel like that sense of loss is, it connects really strongly with the opposition between Leo and Aquarius, which of course, as Aquarius moons and Leo risings, the two of us really understand that polarity really well. Um, you said something amazing earlier about Leo and pride that I really want to shine a light on, which is this whole idea of um, I shine for your benefit.
Mm,
Do you
yeah.
do you mind talking about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So, similarly to the concept of how our sun shines for us, right? The sun, I mean, you could argue philosophically the sun has an intrinsic need to shine. It's part of its just inner intrinsic thing that it does, like any other star. Suns just stars shine because they shine. It's their job. It's what they do, and that's enough. But we are on this planet. We are blessed by the gift of the sun because the sun is what gives us our life. And it basically, I mean, without the sun's presence, everything would die. And it's all of our plants literally depend on sunlight for their life, and we depend on them, and so on and so forth. And similarly to that concept, I think a lot of Leo risings and Leo as a sign in general recognizes that it's actually here for other people's good, and to shine for other people's benefit. We're not here to shine just so that we can get all this attention. And I like to think like Leos aren't here to try to be the sun god, Ra. Like we're
Yes.
actually here to like help you. Like we want to help. We don't want to be like worshipped. Like I think when you were talking earlier about the nursery, it did like fill me with like the sense of like profound loneliness in a way of like like when you shine, it's kind of a lonely position in many ways. It's actually like there's that incredible desire to not be singled out and therefore alone. Like you want to be part of that community, which is that polarity in Aquarius. And like Leo, I feel, and this might be, I don't know, it could be a heretical astrological view, I don't know, but I almost feel like opposing signs are trying to get back to the other one, because they know that they're
Oh,
lacking what the other one has. So like cancers are constantly striving for like physical security that Capricorn has. And Capricorns are like, yeah, it's awesome, but I wish I had that emotional depth and strength and base that you have, because I have physical resources, but I need the other side too. And I think for Leo, like we're like, yeah, it's great to shine and it's a fun thing and it's enjoyable and you know that comes with a lot of blessings for sure. But at the same time, like it's kind of lonely. Like we kind of want to be part of the group. We want to be seen as part of the group. Like we want to be recognized as separate and unique. We want to shine in our uniqueness, but we also don't want to be excluded from the group. And this whole, like, there's the whole, like, it's lonely at the top, right? Trope that we have. And I think that Leos get seen on that pedestal, whether they want to be or not. And I think, therefore, like, they're like, no, actually, I really want to serve you. Like, I don't, like, people on each side, it's the grass is always greener, right? We always think, oh, well, they're doing that, so they must be something. But really, it's the Leos, like, and of course, of course, I'm sure there's arrogant Leos, just like there's arrogant everything else.
of
But
course.
the majority of them really do want to shine for the group and they want to recognize others in the same way that they're seen and recognized for what they shine with.
Yeah. Yeah. And if what you're saying about oppositions is heresy, I will gladly sign on as a heretic because I think it's one of the most beautiful ideas I've heard all day.
Well, yeah, well, in fairness, I have Leo ascendant and then I have my moon in Aquarius, so I'm definitely in favor of trying to get those two to blend as much as I can.
Same here. Same here. We've definitely got our mixed cross uh stuff going on, both of us. Um Something that you said earlier that I really want to close with is we were talking about how um you don't have anything in Pisces in your chart. And for the record, I don't either. Um and I think you remember what I'm talking about. Can you pick up that story?
Yeah, so I had been, and this is not something that's new to me, it's something I reflect on and off as I have the emotional bandwidth to address it. So I have Pisces in my eighth house, the traditional house of other people's resources, death, the occult, sex, etc. All the super fun. I think it's isn't it considered the house of the taboo as well?
Yep.
So obviously not usually, I think an energy most people find easy to handle is whatever's their eighth house tends to be. And I think it's especially difficult when you have no planets there at all, to help like light the way for you a little bit more and give you some clarity on what it means to you. Um, but I was sharing that while I personally struggle to connect to my Pisces energy, I really appreciate the people who have a lot of Pisces energy and are able to share their energy with the world because we all need everyone else as part of the circle. So, like my younger sister, she has her ascendant in Pisces. She is an artist. She is one of the most compassionate people I know who has a huge amount of discernment and um, I knew that my husband would be appropriate to my husband because she gave him her approval. And if she hadn't given him her approval, I would have known there was something I couldn't see that she could see. So she has that like deep Piscean knowledge and wisdom and power. And um, yeah, I really value her and I really value that energy that she brings. So even though I personally have trouble connecting to that Piscean energy for myself, like it's yeah, it's one of the things that I think is just important um instead of othering each other and saying, oh, this sign is whatever, because we all have heard the stereotypes about all sorts of signs. And usually we're like, yeah, but that's not true of my stuff because my stuff's the best. But it would be, I know that when her Pisces is there and she's able to share that with me, that it makes my Leo brightness shine in a more healthy way than it would have without her. And her, not just her, of course, but because she's my sister, I tend to lean into that um more. And yeah, it's just, yeah, even the energies we don't know how to appreciate in ourselves, they're still so life-giving. And I do think that is one of the gifts of Leo, is to say all of it's life-giving. Like no matter where you are in where your sun is in your chart, the sun is still trying to shine its light onto everything it can reach as much as possible. And since we're blessed to have a 360 chart, it means your sun can shine things, even though some things go combust a little too close. The sun is still doing its best to reach everywhere it can. And I think that's one of the gifts of Leo ascendants, is that we are able to see. And even if we're like, I can't live that, I don't know, we're able to still appreciate them and see them.
Yeah. I can't shine that light, and so I'm so grateful that you can, because I
Yeah,
don't have to shine that light for you.
exactly. Yeah, I'm grateful that I don't have to do the work that a Pisces does. And I'm sure they're grateful not to pull the load that the Leo ascendant does either. Because not our gift, not our thing, but what is it? I'm trying to remember the saying. There's some saying about like if all the instruments in the orchestra were the same, it would be really bad music. Um,
Yes.
so we're all different instruments, but we're all vital to the song and to the storyline being told by the song.
Absolutely. And speaking of gratitude, I am so grateful for you and your work. You were one of the first people to um, help me to see the benefits of human design, and you did it by using it as a lens through which you could really see me in a way that other people haven't been really able to see. So I feel really privileged to be up here and pulling you on stage and being able in my small way to be like, look at Piper's work. Look at Piper's work. So for people who want to look at Piper's work, where can they find you on the internet? And of course, there will be links to this in the description down below.
So I'm on Instagram and I'm on Threads as the Human Design Witch. And yeah, those are the two places I am the most active outside of Ada's discourse or Discord. Discourse. It's the same idea, right?
Yes, we have lots of
So
discourse in the Discord.
yeah. So if you're on in her Discord, which is super awesome, by the way, you should definitely think about joining if you haven't already. Um, this was not a paid promotion, just the truth. Um,
Oh,
if you are there, you can always connect with me there too, of course.
thank you so much for coming on and talking to me today. And I really hope that people reach out to you and learn more about your work.
Thank you, Ada. It was so much fun being here and getting to talk about our Leo ascendants.
Yes.